Let's be honest, there's no shortage of good Spider-Man movies, and the little deviation we got was the animated movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And ever since the release, it blew up all over the internet, topping the charts very quick. Well deserved, of course, and today with the news of the sequel already in the works, are going to talk more about what is coming, and take a look at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Recap. It doesn't matter if you find yourself a fan of Tom Holland's MCU Spider-Man, or you're more from the old school side of things and have the sweets for Sam Raimi's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and his web-slinging days a few years back. However, as it has proven so far, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is arguably the best of the rest, and with that in mind, many more are eager to know what is coming up next on the menu. The first movie told a well-crafted story of Marvel's fan-favorite neighborhood wall-crawler, Miles Morales, and all his endeavors in his early days as a web-slinger. On his adventures, he takes on a group of villains including Scorpion, Olivia Octopus, Prowler, and Kingpin, as it could have been anyone else. These characters proved to be challenging foes, and in order to overcome his challenges, Miles got help from Spider-Woman, Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, Spider-Man Noir, and Peter Parker, characters who are all from different dimensions in the multiverse, aka the Spider-Verse. The movie was a huge success, and the received critical acclaim is yet another fact for it, with some of the main elements of the movie being highlighted, such as the characters, the animation style, the humor, the story, and the awesome soundtrack, amongst many other things. The movie also received many nominations and awards from some of the industry's biggest honors, including Best Animated Feature Awards at the 46th Annie Awards, the 91st Academy Awards, and the 76th Golden Globe Awards, a pretty significant list, right? And finally, thanks to the new deal between Sony and Netflix, all of the fans and subscribers of the streaming platform know what the next chapter in this multiverse will be. Given all this so far, it would come as no surprise at all that the movie is getting a sequel. And we all are more curious than ever, curious about learning everything there is about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2. Release date and trailer. The highly anticipated sequel, initially set to release on April 8, 2022, got delayed just like almost any other project from the film industry. The sequel suffered few delays, but then after all the dust settled, we got the announcement of the next release date. That stands to this day onwards, October 7, 2022. Let's just hope it stays this way. We should also mention that because of the deal between Sony and Netflix, films from the studio will premiere on the streaming platform after the home entertainment window closes. Very sad and unlucky news we got, because according to a report from The Hollywood Reporter, that this part of the agreement starts in 2022, meaning that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse will be one of the movies that will come to the streaming service with a delay after it first releases in the cinemas. As for the trailer side of things, no preview has been put out just yet, and one is being expected to arrive sometime in 2022, if the sequel follows the footsteps of the first one. Until then, be on the lookout and see if you find any footage of some sort and have a little glimpse or two into the Spider-Verse. Cast. Nothing official has been confirmed about the cast and what the roster will look like for the sequel, but many fans and we all together have a pretty good idea of what the lineup might look like when everything is said and done. First and foremost, the man of the show, Shameik Moore, will definitely be back as Miles, and also many have their hopes up that Hailee Steinfeld will be back as Gwen, aka Spider-Woman. Other members of the original cast that would be an ideal part of the roster are Tyree Henry, Catherine Hahn, Lauren Velez, Jenny Slate, and last but not least, Oscar Isaac, all of them reprising their roles from the first movie. As we all know, MCU's Tom Holland had a cameo in the first movie, but eventually he was cut, and the next outing of the franchise should see him possibly having an animated version in the mix. As for any new additions to the roster, there are a lot of options including Spider-Punk and Silk, whom Phil Lord and Chris Miller have already mentioned of adding in the past, and they also added that they would like to see Spider-Man Takuya Yamashiro from the 1970s Japanese series as well. So there are many doors still open for joining, and many characters who are yet to come to the crazy world of Miles Morales. Also, one other confirmation that came from Phil Lord and his Twitter account is that after seeing a glitch from the Spider-Man PlayStation video game, they'll also be adding a patio heater as a character in the second movie. That is, if they have at least a little self-respect. However, we think that this is a joke on the whole franchise, but in an animated movie like this and all the shenanigans happening, we could and should expect everything. The movie ends on a rather interesting note, and that while Miles' new Spider-People friends returned all to their respective realities, there's still a way for them to travel or communicate between dimensions, of course without the side effect of destroying New York, unlike Kingpin's particle accelerator. We also catch a detail at the end of the movie. The reality warping effect from the movie appears above his head, accompanied by Gwen's voice. The producer of the movie, who's also a former Sony chief, said that the sequel will pick up from the story thread cut in the first movie, and that's the growing romance between Miles and the alternate reality superhero version of Gwen Stacy. The plot is set to focus on the pair, although if there are more multiverse shenanigans, it might also include other Spider-Men and women. And this is very possible because we can see that there are plenty of other Spider-People to choose from. The producers also shared their desires of seeing Silk, a former classmate of Peter's who has also been bitten by a spider, and Spider-Punk, which would also be the beginning of this way they're trying to take for the future. The teaser that announced the sequel featured flickering logos of many different iterations of Spider-Man, which means that an introduction to new characters is on the way. Many fans were quick to spot a rather obscure Spider-Man Takuya Yamashiro, a quite unknown Spider-Man who, thanks to a licensing deal between Japanese production house Toei and Marvel, got the right to be part of the Spider-Verse. Unlike the other spider creatures, Takuya got his powers from an alien blood transfusion at the age of 22, and he uses his powers to battle the evil aliens who murdered his father. His whole outfit fits into a bracelet, and he has a giant spaceship which can turn into a robot called Leopardon. Other news say that even though Tom Holland's Peter Parker was cut from the first movie and is seen in a train station or something, there could be room for him in the sequel, which is always a good thing, hearing his voice in yet another movie. A potential time jump was also teased from the minds behind the sequel, so keep that in mind too. And last but not the least, in the sequel, as an Easter egg of sorts, we might get the hilarious glitch we mentioned before from the video game Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, while Miles randomly transforms into a patio heater swinging around the city. On a related note, tell us down in the comments below which detail would you like to see in the sequel, and why. And also don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.